talk show. I'm very excited to bring my guest here today on with you. Her name is Wendy Haller. She has written a book of poetry, and it is, and I didn't say this to Wendy before we started, but I had a chance to take a peek at her website. The website alone is gorgeous. The book cover is gorgeous. So I'm so excited to hear about the contents of this book. Wendy, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Elsa. I'm excited to be here, as you know.
I'm excited to have you. So we got to meet in person a little while back, which is actually kind of rare for me, that I don't really get to meet a lot of my guests in person. So I actually got to meet you in person, and you're just a lovely human being, and you just exude this really sweet, light, great energy. So I suspect this book is going to have a lot of that in there as well. So let's start with your background. Tell me a little bit about you and how you got to here.
Oh, okay, absolutely. So I've been a school teacher for 19 years, preschool special education. Prior to that, I worked in broadcast sports television. So my bachelor's degree is in journalism, which brought me to broadcast. And then I got my master's in early childhood ed. So I've had a couple of careers, very different. So I've been a teacher for the past 19 years, and that's who I was. And so I just happened to, fortunately, the way the universe and things work out, I went on medical leave in January, and I was home from work, obviously. And my son, who is 20 now, crazy, I have a 20 and 17-year-old, he had said to me prior to going off to college this fall, I want you to make a promise. I want you to promise me that you're going to write every day. And you as a mom know we hate to disappoint our children. Even though it happens, we want to keep our promises. And my writing, as for I'm sure so many people, has always been a very intimate thing for me, especially my poetry. That was my diary. That's how I would express myself and share. And it wasn't consistent writing every day because there was that self-doubt. Like, who do you think you are? You're a teacher. That's what you do. So being home on medical leave, I got over the teacher guilt that I was home and not in school with my children and my babies. And then after I got over that, I got to a point where I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do with this time? You know, I'm getting this beautiful gift of time. What am I going to do? And so I thought to what my son had said, and I had always kind of written along the way since he went to school. And I just went into my grandma's old theater chest and I pulled out all of my writing from college years. I got my thumb drive, I got my notebooks, and I just sat and I compiled it all. And it really is, my book is 30 years of poetry throughout my different stages of life. And as I was putting it together, it really occurred to me that when I was writing I was writing when I was going through growth into adulthood. And all of those stages of transitioning from the teen years into the 20, and who am I and where do I belong, and all the beliefs that were embedded into me by my family and my community and the environment and peers, but who am I? And then you get into, your later 20s and you're trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And then you go through different partners, relationships, whether they're friends, family members, changing relationships through the years, and relationships with partners. And it's like, you think you're going to spend your time with one partner, and then you realize, I adore you and I love you, but you're not that person. And then this other person comes along. And I remember saying one night to my husband when we were dating, I'm like, I always wondered what your name would be, and it's like, oh, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that, and then becoming the parent. And now we're in this stage, I'll be 50 next month. And my husband and I are getting in the stage where we're starting to take on a parenting role to our parents. So it's all those changes that happen in this 30-year time span through my poetry. It's my poetic memoir.
Wow. How incredible. And as you're talking, like everything you're saying, I almost nod a few times. I almost nodded I'm so glad they couldn't see me and it could only see you because I was nodding my head so hard I almost gave myself whiplash. Everything that you're saying and the heart that you've poured into this book is so incredibly relatable. And so many of us are not able to articulate those life changes that we all go through. And I suspect people are going to read this and just see themselves and their own journey in it. And I have to say, I love especially that you refer to this life as a journey, because we all know that's what it is. And there's so many people who think there's a destination, the point that you're getting to, and instead of being on the journey. And I love that you, in your writing journey, that you were so present enough to write all of that down. And I can't not comment on how incredibly sweet and beautiful that your son was the one that encouraged you to do that, to write, to like refocus on that. And in this phase of your life, when we're at a moment of pause almost, right? That just how incredible. Now the book is called Kiss You Love Goodbye. Tell me about the name of the book, where that came about.
So the title came actually back in my college years, and I've held it. It was one of those papers that I pulled out of Grandma Cedar test, and Kiss You Love, and it's so funny because it's even relevant to so much, but Kiss You Love Goodbye, it depends on how you say it. The intonation of each word can take a different meaning. It can be Kiss You Love Goodbye to my child going off to college, to a loved one, an elder. It could be to that partner who, that this is not meant to be, or it could be sarcastic, like kiss you love goodbye. I mean, it could be like, I'm done, like this is not healthy for me, see you later. And so for me it was, and I'll say this a lot, where I say this with love, because I want people to know that when I'm saying something, especially in my professional life, that I may be saying this, I want you to understand it's coming from a place of love. No matter where we are in our lives and what we're going through, I think everything can be done with a little bit of love.
Yes.
And kindness.
Absolutely. I think that's, clearly one of the things we're lacking so much in this present world, or seem to be. I don't want to say that we're lacking it. We seem to be, because we get so inundated with all of the negative, because the negative, especially when you're talking about news and things like that and social media, everything that's negative is pushed and put in our faces constantly, that we think that is the blanket reality of people and things in life. And it's also a very self-absorbed climate that we're in, so everything is about how I feel, how everything affects me, how and I like the way that you put that, going, speaking with love and letting people know, starting with that letting them know what I'm saying to you is coming from a place of love, because I think everybody now, every time anything was said to them, they feel attacked. Like everything is an attack. Everything is a personal attack instead of constructive or intended to be constructive and helpful. And boy, oh boy, we need more of you in the world. Can we clone you? I think have they perfected cloning? I feel like there's rumors that they have, but I would like to clone you and have more of you. What just out of curiosity, kind of off script, so to speak, what age group did you teach?
I've taught preschool special education. I did fourth grade for 1 year, but most of my professional career has been in preschool and special education.
Oh my gosh, you make my heart so happy. You sent off so many children off well into the world. I love that. That's beautiful. Beautiful. You make my heart so happy.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, that's why I say I miss my kids.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that I have to be out of work. It's so funny how the universe works and life leads you, because I wouldn't have done this if I hadn't had to be out of work. So it's like, I miss my babies. And wow, I
Yeah,
let go of fear. Yeah, as an author, it's hard, especially when some of these things are so intimate. I let go of my dad left, but the daddy issues of like, I don't want to disappoint daddy. So some of my poems are pretty intimate or dark, as he calls them.
sure.
And it's like, you know what, though? This is me,
Hmm.
you
Let's
know,
talk about that part of the process for a minute,
Mhm.
because yes, I do know well, writing it is one thing, putting it down on paper, computer, whatever the case is one thing. Releasing it into the universe for other people to consume, to critique, to criticize, that's a whole other thing. And yes, writing your innermost thoughts and feelings and hurts. Oh my gosh, that's so exposing. I can't think of another word offhand, but it's so exposing and so terrifying. Um, Tell me about that part of the process when what was your thought process when you said, okay, I'm putting it out in the universe? Did you need a push? Was it, how did that go for you?
It was an internal push. It was a really like, yeah, again, I keep referring. I'm going to be 50 next month, but you do get to a certain point in your age, your life and your age and experience where you're just like, I just don't care anymore. I'm me. This is me. The scale's not going to change. My hips are this. Blah 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 blah. I don't have much of a filter. That's never changed. But it was internal for me to just be okay. I had an amazing author. I'll give her a plug, JL Wright. She's an amazing author, poet, an amazing editor, and she held my hand. And she challenged me. She held my hand. She had a lot of grace. And there were two poems in the book. One is about a stillborn and a mother experiencing the loss of a child at birth, and the other is coming from a friend's point of view of wanting to help your friend, support your friend. So those experiences were one. I fortunately did not have the stillbirth, but I had the friend. So it was her perspective of talking to her, and then my perspective of supporting her. And there were things that she wanted to change in the poem, and I teetered back and forth, and I talked to my husband about it, and he was like, but that's your poem, that you're the writer,
Hmm.
and you don't have to change it. And I was like, oh, well, I just want to be the good little girl and do what I'm supposed to do, like,
Yes, yes, absolutely. And there is that fine line, so, two parts of that. It is so hugely important to have a sounding board, have a cheerleader and somebody who knows, of course, we're specifically about writing. That's what we're talking about specifically, really knows the craft and who can help you on that journey. And then there's that line where you might have to put your foot down and say, you know what, I feel so strongly about this that it has to stay, even though you're saying it has to go, or I need to change it, or something like that. That's such a challenging personal decision on that. So yeah, bully for you for navigating it and sticking to your guns. And in all honesty, if you had decided to go with what she said, that wouldn't have been wrong either. It's just a matter
no.
of what resonates with you, right? Like what you feel and that you need to do. So like you couldn't have made a wrong decision there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because again, like, she's beautiful at her craft, and she was beautiful with hand holding and guiding me um, with some of the poems. Because I mean, some of them I wrote when I was 17. And I would say, this sounds a little adolescent. Maybe I should change it. And she's like, no, that's the voice. That's the voice. And you get so close
Mhm.
to your work that you can't see, and you think, well, that's not right, and it needs to change. And so she did a great job, but that was a big learning lesson for me, to know that it is my work and I am the author, and if I feel strongly, it's okay to keep it. And you
Mhm.
just hope people will receive it the way you intended.
Sure. Sure, yeah, that's
and
always the hope, right? That's always the fear that people will misinterpret or misunderstand or not, follow, and to us, it's so obvious, so
mhm,
like, how do you not understand or how do you not see? But I especially love, so I every time somebody tells me something, I see it as a movie in my head. So everything
mhm,
I hear, like I always see it. So
yeah,
I'm seeing your book, as a journey. I'm seeing like you growing up through your book and your voice changing throughout it. And I think that's a really powerful thing as a reader uh, to to be a part of. Because I think
yeah,
if we're book lovers, we're readers, obviously.
yeah.
So we get personally involved and invested in the books that we're reading. So yeah, that's so cool. What a cool aspect of that book to be able to grow up with somebody through their stories, learn about them and their experiences, and then also be able to relate them to your own experience. What a
Mm.
gift. What a treasure and a gift. I love it. Was there a poem? Do you have a favorite poem? Is there one? That's such a hard question to answer. I'm guessing, but is there a favorite or maybe one that has still to this day a huge impact on you?
I have two
Mhm.
that have just, I don't, one is called A Promise of Forever, and the other is Intimacy Lost. And I don't know what it is about those two. They've just, they've kind of been my friends through the years. I wrote them when I was much younger, but I reflected on them many times, or lines from the poems will come. Um, Intimacy lost, lost in the perils of everyday life. And that's life. We just get wrapped up. It's like, are you seeing me? Am I seeing you? Are we so busy with all of the things? And then, A Promise of Forever, how it ended in a day, and it was like, we can't predict what life's going to bring.
Mm, so
Uh,
true. So
you know,
true. Oh, I am so excited to read these. And I have to tell you, I am not so I had a teacher in high school that scared me off of poetry because he was so intense and I won't go into the whole story, but poetry has always been just something I stay away from. I
mhm.
like have anxiety over it. And this is one of the I and I'm being very honest, this is one of the first times that I've said, oh no, I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this when it comes to
Oh,
poetry. I'm like, no,
thank you.
I need this in my life. So yeah, I'm really excited. Now that this book is out in the universe and available, and we'll talk about where to find it and all
Mhm.
that good stuff in just a moment. Tell me, are you working on something else, another project, anything else going on?
I am. I have a children's book that is in the illustration phase. And the second in that series, kind of waiting in the wings. The text is already done. And the illustrator that I'm working with, we finalized the main character's look. So he's now working on the illustration for the first book, Maggie Malone, and her imagination. And then the second book, the text is written, but you get so excited. I was like, I don't know if you want this now, but I just finished the first draft. And my publisher was like, he was like, well, hold on to it. We'll get there. And with Kiss You Love Goodbye, I self-published that. And so it's kind of interesting to travel down different avenues. I knew with a children's book, I just felt more comfortable going through a publisher because it's so different, because it's a picture book and the visuals mean so much. And I knew that I needed more guidance going with a publisher, but with my self-published book. So I'm excited. Maggie's Little Adventure, and she's actually a little girl that I wrote my first book on her. Again, found in Grandma Cedar Chest. It was for my children's lit class in college. So when I pulled it out, I was like, I love this character. This story doesn't fit for this current stage or current day. And so I was lying in bed in the middle of the night, and just to share, menopausal women, we wake up in the middle of the night. It just happens.
It's
So
life.
I know. I'm lying next to my husband, and the story came, and I'm lying next to him in my notes app, and I wrote her story.
Wow.
And then, yeah, and then the second one kind of came the same way. And the second one I wrote out on paper. But it kind of came to me. But it's for preschoolers, and as a special education preschool teacher for so long, I've read so many wonderful children's books that these stories just came to me from my observations of, so the books, the Maggie Malone series is almost like a guide to show parents, this is how you can model and teach your children how to use their imagination, because so many kids are on tablets.
Mm.
And then and it's also for the kids to see how they can use their toys, not just dump them, but to use their toys to play and bring out their imagination. And so the same thing with the second one, Maggie Malone, I can do it myself, mama, which was what my daughter used to always say to me. I can do it myself, mama.
I love that.
That story is about, and I've seen it the last, whatever number of years. Parents are so busy trying to get out the door that they do everything for their kids. And then we get them as teachers, and it's like they have no life skills. Not to the fault of parents, they're just trying to make it through a day.
Sure.
But at the same time, everyone's going to benefit. So that book is about a child learning to do things for herself. And mama's never late for school anymore because she can do it all by herself. And it's just creating that relationship of understanding between the parent and the child that they can guide each other.
I love that. I love that. Entertaining and educating. And the parents obviously get something out of it too. When they're reading it to their child, they're like, you're going to be like, oh yeah. Okay. I get it. I get what you're saying there. That's fantastic.
Trust me, I was that parent throwing a baby on my hip with shoes in hand, running to the car. So I get it,
Yes, I know. And, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and I still, unfortunately, my personality type is like, when I want something done, I want it done 5 minutes ago, which is a terrible, terrible personality trait. And I work on it all the time, not successfully, but I was like that too. I was definitely, and I'll do it for you. I'll let you start. We'll let them start, and they would do some of it, and they'd be like, okay, we gotta go. So yes, we're all pretty guilty of that. And I think you're right, probably more so now than ever with the tablets and the phones, and, everybody's got their face in their phones and immediate gratification for everything. So yeah, what a great, great series. That's so exciting. I love it.
Yeah, so I have that. And then I do want to write. It's so interesting how you say about poetry, because I have 2 short stories in the wings that I will eventually get to, but I do have a book I've written like 3 chapters on, and it's so intimidating, Elsa. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah,
it's so intimidating.
It's so funny. I know. Isn't that funny how, different writers or different types of writers, genres, find other genres and types like super intimidating. Like, I'm sure people who are not in the writing world probably say, well, if you're right, you're right. Like, what's so complicated? You just write things and stuff. It's like, no, for me, poetry is terrifying to the point where I convince myself that I hate poetry. I don't hate poetry. You can't hate poetry. Poetry is beautiful. But I convinced myself that as like a self-defense of why I struggle with it. But yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, I know. I just sit and, I'm the type of writer that the other type hates. We don't hate each other. We all love each other.
Yeah.
But I'm what they call a pantser. I don't know if you've heard these terms, but there's like plotters and pantsers. I'm a pantser. So simply meaning that I'm the type of writer that sits down. I'll get like an idea for a story, much like you, like middle of the night, first thing in the morning, just as I'm going to bed, like really inconvenient times. And I have to write it immediately. Yeah. That feeling, right? See, we're all alike. And I will sit down and just start writing. I don't have an outline. I don't have anything. I just watch the story in my head and write it down. And so that's a pantser for you. And plotters will like be very organized, and they'll have files, and they'll outline, and all those really amazing things that I wish my brain could do but cannot. So which one are you? Now that I give you the description, which one are
You
you?
know what? It's interesting. I think I'm more of a pantser
Yeah.
because, like, even with this book, I know it's very funny, like coming of age, women's fiction coming of age, and I have no idea where it's going. I
I
have no
love
idea.
that.
I
I love
have
that. Isn't that
absolutely no idea.
exciting?
I mean, like, I just keep like scenes come up, like you said, the scenes come up in my head, and I'm like, oh, I got to write that down. And then wait, there's a sidebar because she wants to like explain why her daughter has this name because this is the most ridiculous name for a child ever, And so it's just, I'm like, I got to write it down. I don't know. I have no idea where it's going, but I give you props, and it's interesting because I sometimes think of myself more as like, I don't even know if this is okay to say, but like a layman's poet,
Sure.
because I'm not writing pages of prose and very abstract, read between the lines, and very I think my poetry is more emotional from the heart, what I'm feeling, thinking, experiencing, observing. And I do use a thesaurus, a dictionary. I use a lot. I don't
It's our
know how
best
you
friend.
write
That is
about
one of our
it.
best friends. Are you kidding me? Love that thing. Yeah.
I use the same words over and over.
Yes.
And even my editor was like, you like words with ing. And I'm like, well, I grew up in Rhode Island, which is kind of an oxymoron because we don't use ings, but we say words, something for nothing.
I love that. I love that. That's hysterical. Yeah, no, I'm the same way, and that's such a common thing. And I had to learn like early on that it was okay in that rough draft, like to just have it as layman as you want, doesn't matter. And then you go back
Mhm.
after and you pretty it up and you tie bows on everything and sprinkle glitter and so yeah, layman people appreciate that more than anything, I think, than the big fancy words like, oh, look at you, la-di-da, big words.
Well, that's the poetry that I gravitate to
I like
too,
that.
as well. A lot of the poetry books that I have in my collection are, very, I don't know, I hate to say every day, but just very relatable.
Sure.
Very relatable.
I love that. Yeah. Well, thank you for pinpointing for me too. You just helped me pinpoint what it is about poetry or how I perceived poetry because of that teaching. Who I love that teacher. He was a wonderful teacher. He was phenomenal. I credit him and sneak him into books actually because I love him so much. But he terrified me from poetry because that's why it was abstract poetry and we had to decipher the meaning and he would go line by line, word by word. And I like break out in a sweat just at the thought.
I know. Well, it's interesting because my husband, he'll even say like poetry's not his thing, and I'll read something new that I'm working on, and he's like, "Well, I don't understand. Did he leave? Did he stay?" I'm like, "It's written right there. The screen door closed. The sound of the car door. That was the last day of my childhood." And he's like, "So he left?" I'm like, "I'm gonna work on it. It's a work in progress." So he kind of
That's
helps
so
me.
funny. I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh, Wendy, I could talk to you all day. This is so fun.
So lovely.
Oh
Thank
my
you so
gosh,
much,
so fun.
Elsa.
Oh, no, I love it. So tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find your books. If you have a book launch coming up, if you want to share that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I have the book launch coming up on June 22nd at 6 o'clock at Kismet Co. in Collinsville, Connecticut. And it's tea and poetry with Wendy, the owner. Jocelyn makes her own teas, and so she makes beautiful blends. So she's going to create a special blend for that night. So we're going to sit and we'll drink our tea. I'll share some of the poetry. I'll do the book signing. I'm really hoping it can be, because it talks about the book. There it is. That's my book.
Well,
How weird is that? That's my name. That was the weirdest thing, looking my name up on Amazon, and it actually came up. I'm
so
like, wait, what?
crazy. I did that
Like, I
like
don't even,
500 times. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, is that this Wendy Haller? Really? But so I really am hoping that the book launch is more like a tea party. Let's sit around and let's talk about it and share our experiences. The last poem in the book is called I Evolved.
Hmm.
And it just talks about, for me, I evolved into many different lives, many different people. And I'm just very happy with where I'm at right now. Don't know about tomorrow,
Yeah.
but
Day by day, day by day. I love
exactly,
that, right?
exactly.
Yes. Now, I'm sorry, do people need to like sign up or register or anything for that, or they just show up?
Yep, they can just show up.
Okay, cool, cool,
They
cool.
can just show up. It's the information's on my website. It's on
Perfect.
Facebook. It's an event on Facebook, Instagram, and yeah, and the book is pretty much everywhere. It's in ebook form, which boy was that challenging as a self-publisher. Ebooks are
They're not
not
fun.
easy.
They're not fun. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I had never thought how difficult it would be just to upload some words.
Yes.
But yeah.
And it's always some obscure thing that won't let you move to the next phase, right? It's always something really seemingly simple, but it feels really complicated. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been
Well,
there.
that was interesting is I ended up going through 3 different covers because the cover I was having issues with. And it was meant to be because I like the cover it ended up with anyway. So
There you go.
So it's ebook or paperback form, and it's pretty much everywhere. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, wherever you do your e-readers. It's on Kindle Unlimited. If you have a subscription, it's free on Kindle Unlimited. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And what's that gorgeous website again?
Oh, and wendyhallerauthor.com.
Beautiful. Perfect.
And I
It
have
really
a
is a
little.
gorgeous website. I
Oh,
saw
thank
your
you.
email like just before, like 5 minutes before we started. I'm like, oh, let me click on it quick. And yeah,
Yeah.
gorgeous, gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was I'm getting out of my comfort zone and sharing my poetry. This is like getting out of my comfort zone. And thank goodness I have tech savvy children because I'm like, wait, no, I don't know. And they're like, Mom, it's easier than you're making it out to be in your head. Just sit down. I'm like, okay, all right. Even my best friend was like, if I can make one, you can make one. So I
That's
was like,
awesome.
okay.
Yes.
So it's there, and I have a blog on there that I'll be posting different things every Tuesday and Thursday.
Very, very cool. I
Little
love it.
insight.
I love all of it. And I love that, and this is kind of a message to anyone who watches or listens to this. Take a listen at the encouragement here that Wendy is offering to, broke out of her comfort zone, did something that she wasn't sure about the reaction to. And my favorite thing to say all the time is that, well, for you, she did it anyway. Do it anyway. If you're afraid, if you're uncertain, do it anyway. I mean, worst thing is going to happen is that somebody isn't going to like it, and whoop-de-doo, right? It's like
Not everybody's going to like everything.
Right, exactly. And everything is subjective. So if that's the worst thing, man, we're a lot tougher. We're a lot tougher than we think we are. So do it anyway, people.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
That.
Yes,
Well,
Wendy Haller, thank you. You're going to join me again, right? So I love putting people on the spot at the end of the interview. I do this every time, only to the ones that I like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell the others.
Tell me that you're going to come back on again when your next book comes out, and we'll talk about that one, and we'll have a super fun time again.
Yay. I would love it. I would love
Awesome.
it. Thank you so much.
Yay. All right, guys, there you have it. You heard it. She's coming back again. Wendy Haller, go check out her book, check out her website. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Bye.